here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. Going to try to make another video this morning before I head out. Now, this evening we're loading up the horses, 2 trucks, 2 trailers, horse trailers, loading all the horses, all the gear, heading up about a 2-hour drive up to Taylor Park. Going to set up camp this evening, and we're going to start tomorrow 3 days of riding up there, gathering about 1,200 head of cattle up in the mountain pastures, finding them, hunting them down, gathering them together, and then pushing them up higher up in the mountains on another pasture. So we'll be riding Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. After we get done riding Wednesday, we come in, tear a camp down, drive the 2 hours back here, and then Thursday we go out and we ride and gather and push cattle here closer to home. So I'm going to be out of pocket for about 4 days, not going to have cell service, not going to be online, not going to be able to answer any questions or comments or anything for a bit. So you guys just keep the house warm while I'm gone, okay, and I'll be back when I can. And so wanna just make a video this morning on a subject, probably the number one question I've gotten across the spectrum, and it's on my hats. It just beats me. I just don't understand it. But I've got a lot of questions, a lot of comments on my hats, and so I just wanted to do a light video this morning on cowboy hats. Okay, so we'll address some of these issues. Now, to start with, I don't know if you know it or not, but a felt cowboy hat is made out of felt. Now there's felt is fur or hair, not a hide, not a skin, but where the hair is shaved off. Imagine getting a haircut and you got hair in the floor, okay, loose hair, all right, not a skin. So that hair is taken and put through, like in the old days, it was boiled. But I think maybe a lot of times they use steam or something. And what that does, the process, it takes that hair and it mats it. It mats it all together and it creates a sheet, a material. And that's what felt hats are made out of. Now, felt can be wool felt, beaver felt. Your Australian, like your Akubras, your Man from Snowy River hats, they're made out of rabbit felt, okay? But your cowboy hats, your American cowboy hats, are made out of a felt, and the best material, the best felt is beaver, okay? And but there are varying qualities in what they do, because beaver is expensive. Beaver felt, the beaver fur, it's not as plenteous and it's expensive, so they'll mix wool felt with it. And so when you buy a cowboy hat and you look inside and it says 3X, 4X, 5X, that is an indication of the percentage of beaver versus wool that's in that felt. It's a mixture, okay? Now, each hat company has their own, a 3X or 4X, that's not a hard and fast, it's this percentage. And it's not like it used to be. A 4X beaver felt hat used to have a lot more beaver in it than a 4X beaver felt hat today. So when you go to buy a cowboy hat, a felt cowboy hat, you look at the X. The more X's, 3X, 4X, 5X, 7X, 10X, 20X, the more X's, then the higher percentage of beaver, which means it's a higher quality hat, okay? So I've been asked about recommendation on brands. Like everything else in this corporate world, a lot of your hat companies are all owned by the same. There's a holding company corporation that owns a lot of them. Stetson, Resistol, Bailey, those are your mainstream if you go into a Cavender's or something. It used to be back in the day when I started out, I would not buy a hat any less than a 4X. I was poor, always been poor. But I'd buy a 4X, and the 4X held up. There was a noticeable difference between a 4X and a 3X hat. And for a working cowboy, the 4X held up for a while. And today, I still would not recommend that you buy anything less than a 4X if you're actually going to be wearing it out in the weather and using it. All right. But a 5X, a 7X is definitely better. And so let's move on into my hats. You guys have been asking, and I've got so many questions on this hat right here, this brown hat, the one I wear in most of the videos. I've been asked several times who makes it, what is the style, what is the shape. Well, this hat was made by Rand's Custom Hatters out of Billings, Montana. My wife and I had been in Alaska. I'd been riding in Alaska, and I had a really, really good summer. I'd hit a pretty good lick up there. And so as we were heading down, I had gotten a job offer in Florida to go down and work on the racetracks as an equine vet tech. And so we were heading to Florida from Alaska in our travel trailer that we were living in. And as we came through Billings, Montana, I saw the sign that said Rand's Custom Hatters. And my wife said, when we passed it, she said, no, you've got to turn around and go back. You've got to go back. It's time. You got to get a real hat. So never argue with the wife. Happy wife, happy life. So I always do what I'm told. So I turned around and went back and went in there and they measured. They got this deal. They measured all my head and everything, and they kept that. There's a file card in a file cabinet there in Rand's Hatters now with all my specs on it. And so I found this hat. This hat is called the TS3. Now the TS stands for Tom Selleck. It was the third style of hat they had custom designed for Tom Selleck. It didn't look anything like this. I ordered that hat and then left, and they built it and sent it to me. And I tried to wear it for a while, but the shape just didn't suit me. So I reshaped it. So the shape is a Dwayne Noel shape for a Rand's custom hat. It's 100% pure beaver. There's no wool in it, so it's a true 100X hat, and the color is natural beaver. I didn't want something that was going to bleed out. I wanted the actual natural beaver color. So that's what this hat is. It's the nicest hat I've ever owned. It took me a lot of years of working to get to the point where I could do a hat like this. So I custom ordered it. I got the black silk lining inside, and they got my name in it, and I wanted the ribbon around it, and I got the ribbon bound around the edge, and it is a nice hat. So those folks took good care of me. And now if I get another style of hat that I want, I can call them up and say I want this hat in this color, and they'll go pull my card out and they'll build it to fit me. It's a pretty cool deal. So that's Rand's Custom Hatters out of Billings, Montana. This hat here, okay, this hat is just like that hat. This hat looks nothing like it did when I got it. In fact, a fella gave me this hat, and when he gave me this hat, it was a standard cattleman's hat. Like you go into wherever and buy a hat, and it had the standard cattleman's crease you see at all the rodeos and everything. And he gave me the hat. This hat is a Resistol, and it's a 7X, and it's a real heavy felt. This is a really good hat. It's been through. This is my everyday working hat right here. But I took the hat home, and I don't wear that style of hat. So I wound up. I took a leather. I got a tool. I do some leather work, and I got a tool that cuts strips of leather. Well, I took that tool and I cut the brim down. I cut about a little over a quarter inch off the brim, and I completely reshaped it. And a few days after that, I ran into him, and he looked up and he said, "Hey man, where'd you get that hat?" And I said, "It's a hat you gave me." He didn't recognize it. So this is kind of a Gus crease, and I stuck a mule kick in the back just because I wanted to. And curled the brim up. I like the brim curled up some. It kind of holds the shape. It also tends to run the water off in one spot instead of just all over everywhere. But again, somebody asked me the other day, what brand, style, and shape is that hat? It's a Dwayne Noel shape. How do I shape my hats? I'm going to tell you how I shape my hats, but I'm not going to tell you this is what you need to do. I'm going to give you the correct answer to start with. And then I'm going to tell you the Dwayne answer. The correct answer is if you want to reshape a hat, take it into a store that sells hats, and they'll have a steamer, and you go in there with them, and they'll steam the hat and they'll shape the hat for you. Okay, that's the correct way to do it. Now, the Dwayne Noah way to do it is I go in the kitchen and I find an empty coffee can or a milk jug or something, and I take it in and I put it in the shower and I set the hat on top of it so it holds it up so the brim does what it wants. And I turn the shower on, cold water, same as rain, and I go off and leave it until the hat's thoroughly soaked. And so the felt will get soft. You don't want to shape a hat if the felt is not thoroughly steamed or thoroughly wet, because you'll break the felt. You'll get a crease in it, and that's not coming out. And then once it's good and wet, then I'll shape it the way I want and shake the worst of it off so it's not dripping down Mama's carpet anymore. And then I'll wear it and let it conform to my head. That's how I shape my hats. That's my answer for how I do it, but my answer for you is go into a hat shop and let them steam it and shape it the way you want. That way, if you wreck your hat, you're not blaming me for telling you how to do it. Okay? So that's what that is. This hat I got on my head, this is a Bailey. It's a 100X pure beaver felt hat. I got it off eBay. It was brand new in the box. It was a discontinued. There was something about it. They had punched a little hole in the band so they knew it was discontinued. And it was $200, but which is a good price for a 100% beaver hat. Again, it was a standard cattleman shaped hat, and I wore this hat for quite a while. That's why it looks so beat up. But I reshaped it myself into the pinch point and then curled the brim. And so this is a lot lighter weight felt than that one, so it's cooler in the summertime. And what else can I tell you? A hat is your signature. A hat, it's your signature. A hat will tell folks a lot about you. If you go into a shop and you buy a hat, I can tell some things about a guy that I'm riding with by his hat. That's why when I did the video on etiquette, you don't touch a man's hat. Never touch a man's hat, because a hat becomes an expression of who he is. It's personal. And so when you touch a man's hat, it's not just an appendage out there, but it's him. It is an expression of who he is. And so to start out with, if you're looking at buying your first hat, I honestly, it's not worth spending the money to buy anything less than a 4X. It's not worth it. They will not hold up. They won't keep their shape. Get a 4X. Do some study before you buy a hat. Find a shape that you like. And if you have to get that shape off of a movie, that's okay. The Gus from Lonesome Dove is a shape that's become popular these days. Or if you grew up in the old Roy Rogers set, and you like that hat, then wear that hat. Don't get a hat that looks like everybody else's. Go get it and get what you like and make it. They'll cut the brim down. If you see a hat and it's the quality you want, it's the color you want, and it's the basic you want, but the brim's a little bit too wide and the shape is a little bit not right, the hat shop, they should be able to cut that brim down for you and shape it the way you want. Okay? So anyhow, not a real deep video this morning, but I wanted to do it and wanted to address that. So if you like the content, click like. If you haven't subscribed, if you do that for me, click that little bell so you'll be notified when I put up content. Right now, this time of year, it's hard. I really am scratching to find the time to get content every 3 or 4 days. But if you'll do that for me, I'd appreciate it. And be you. Be you. You got to do you, and that includes your hat. Okay? So we'll catch you guys later.